This is a CBC podcast.
Today, our A for Adventure team is here to talk about their favorite island destinations. Nova Scotia's coast is peppered with islands, big and small, near and far. Some are really easy to get to, but others are a bit more challenging. Chris Surrett and Jean-Sébastien Lapierre are on the line. Jan, let's start with you. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're feeling pretty fired up. It's been an amazing couple of days. We just came back from the beautiful Eastern Shore, and I mean way up the Eastern Shore in the vicinity of Gouldsboro. Now, there is a group of islands out off there that we have been eager to visit with a special purpose, because one of the islands, Country Island, has recently been protected by the Canadian Wildlife Services, and it's an important stopover for various different types of migratory birds. You can think of your terns there and your storm petrels that make nests there. And it was our hope to get out to do some filming of those beautiful birds. But as we often learn in the adventure world, not everything goes according to plan, because when we did get up there, the swell was quite high. The fog was intense. And given that we had many thousands of dollars for the camera gear, we didn't want to risk it of going out there further than we felt comfortable with. So we made the call to enjoy one of the other islands that wasn't quite as exposed, crossing our fingers that the fog might lift. It did not. So we instead enjoyed Goose Island, which is every bit as beautiful.
All right. Chris, if you had made it to Country Island, what would you find there?
Yeah, we were looking forward to it, as Jan mentioned, but it was a great reminder of just how difficult it is to navigate our beautiful Atlantic coast, and it was a very humbling experience. With that in mind, and we've been talking about safety and having the right gear and making sure that you don't go in over your head. We did make the call not to go, given the fact that it was almost hard to see your hand in the fog, let alone an island that we were trying to find about 7 kilometers off the coast. But yeah, we were really keen to get there. I mean, Jan mentioned the roseate terns, and that's actually one of the biggest breeding grounds that we have of terns. And of course, they are an endangered species here in Nova Scotia, or across the world, rather. And so Country Island is a very important nesting habitat for them. There's quite a few pairs that nest there. So we were excited to see the little chicks who were just born, who are learning how to fly. We were expecting it to be quite noisy on the island. Canadian Wildlife Services does have a little area there where they do their research. So that was going to be our stop for the night. Mm-hmm. And just really, one of those islands that I've heard about before, and now we have to make another attempt to get out there. But just a reminder again, just how beautiful our coast is, but also how treacherous it can be, and how important it is to be extra careful.
Right, you got to know what you were doing. So you guys were planning to paddle, or you did paddle 7 kilometers from Gouldsboro out to that island. Yes. That's a decent kayak ride.
Yeah, you know what? And it was absolutely stunning as well, given the fact that the fog can create its own mystique, it create its own beauty. But like Chris says, I mean, you got to know what you're doing. And the fact that it's so easy to get turned around. And part of what really plays on the mind when you're out trying to navigate through the fog, specifically in a kayak, is sound. Because of the way that, sound makes its way through the fog, it plays real tricks on you, where things appear to be much closer or much further away than you think they are. So, any time that you're thinking about kayaking out, whether that be the 100 Wild Islands, the LaHave Islands, you name it, there's so many amazing places to go. But if you do not have those skills, and I mean in the fact that you haven't taken a course, you're not extremely comfortable using map and compass or GPS or what have you, then you should absolutely always hire a guide. And there are some great guides, there's some great companies all around Nova Scotia who'd be happy more than happy to take you out and enjoy some of these islands.
One island that I know you guys want to talk about, Chris, that's on your bucket list is St. Paul's Island, just sort of northeast of Cape Breton, almost sort of halfway between Newfoundland and Cape Breton, although not quite. It's more close. But tell us about that island, why you want to go there so badly.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that was actually protected by the Canadian Wildlife Services, and it is 25 kilometers up off the coast of Cape North and Cape Breton. It's actually known as the graveyard of the Gulf, and that's because there's been over 300 shipwrecks that have been recorded there over the years. It is a very rocky island, some high cliffs, and when bad weather strikes, it can be quite the place. I actually just read a book by a guy named Billy Bragg, and he is
Billy Budge.
Billy Budge, sorry. Thank you.
I looked it up before we spoke, yeah.
Yeah, Billy Budge, Lighthouse Keeper's son. And it was just such an interesting read. I mean, he was 5 years old when they moved out there in the 50s. And they lived there for, I think, 7 years, if my memory is correct, or something like that. And so he retells the story of what it's like to live out there in the harsh winters and the isolation, and getting his school homework, helicoptered or boated out there a couple times a year so he can complete his course load. But just the experience of living in such isolation and being out there in that exposed area. I mean, like you mentioned, it is about a quarter of the way to Newfoundland, if not a little bit more than that. And it's when you're up in Cape North and in Dingwall area, you can actually see the island. It doesn't look 24 kilometers away. It's kind of almost like a mirage, but it is quite the spot. And like Jan and I actually get to go to that island at some point this summer or into the fall. So very excited to report back on what that's like. And if anyone's been out there, please reach out to us and let us know any tips and tricks on how to navigate it. I think for that one, we'll actually be hiring a boat. We won't be trying to kayak out there. But wow, I mean, what an exciting experience we're in for there. I can't wait.
What's out there? I know there was an old lighthouse which has been replaced by an automated version, but are there still homes there, or are people just setting up tents when they get there?
Yeah, there are a couple of structures out there from old foundations of homes that we do understand that they've just been left. So there are kind of remnants of the house that Billy Budge would have lived in as a kid. So that apparently is, some of it is still standing. The lighthouse apparently is still standing. There's a couple lighthouses actually on the island. I think one of them might just be a foundation at this point. But yeah, there's obviously birds that stop over there as well, and then seals and things that kind of make the island rocks their home and things like that. So we're just excited to see what's out there, and we can report back on all the things. But yeah, it's not visited very often anymore, that's for sure.
I don't imagine it's changed too much since the mid to late 50s when Billy Budge lived out there.
I can't imagine it's changed too much, no, except for maybe just a few storms doing more damage to anything that's left there. All
right. Well, when you guys get out there, we want to hear more about that visit and more about that island. It's really fascinating. And you mentioned that book, Billy Budge. Look it up. I want to check that out this summer too. Guys, thanks so much for your time. Good luck.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
That's Chris Surrett and Jan-Sebastien Lapierre from A4Adventure, and you can get in touch with Chris and Jan through their website. That's a4adventure.ca.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.